What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? My name is Bernard Damon Holcomb, and I am the creator and the host of the Damon Speaks Show. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Let me tell you something. We have a very, very, very special show planned for you tonight. Coach Court is a mindset and relationship coach, and we're going to be working through thoughts about adult attachment theory and how it's kind of changed my life. First of all, before I do anything, I want to say that today is International Women's Day. I want to give love and honor to all the women in my life, the special women, my mom, my grandparents, my sister friends, my play moms. I appreciate you and I love you so very much. Happy International Women's Day. So tonight we're talking about love and relationships, which is one of the most favorite topics that I ever have on my shows. I am a hopeless, when I say hopeless, y'all, I mean hopeless romantic. Like, I remember being like 7, 8 years old, sitting in the back of my parents' Pontiac 6000. Does anybody remember the Pontiac 6000? Okay, great. Pretending that I had like an imaginary like boyfriend sitting beside me. It was very strange, but I've been thinking about love and relationships for basically my entire life. So recently, a friend of mine talked to me and recommended a book called Attached about adult attachment theory. It's helping me realize why I've never been in a relationship that's lasted longer than 3 months. It's helped me realize some of the reasons why I'm so anxious in my relationships and why I can't seem to be myself, why I can't seem to like hold it down. So if you have trouble, if you're avoiding intimacy, if you're anxious about relationships, this could be whether you're in a relationship, whether you're out of a relationship, whether you're trying to date, whether you're like, I've sworn off dating. It could be because you don't understand your attachment style. It could be because you don't understand that adult attachment theory is at play. I cannot wait to get into it. But I do have a few thoughts for the week. The first thought is to be yourself. I know that it can be difficult. I know because I've been trying more and more and more these days at 38 years old to be myself. And part of the reason why I'm doing the show tonight about adult attachment theory is because when you're trying to be yourself, one of the things that you can really arm yourself with is knowledge about yourself. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? What pushes your buttons? What causes you to be anxious? What causes you to avoid? The other thing is to find your tribe. Find the people that love you. Find the people that support you. Find the people that you can connect with. How do you do that? By being yourself. Your tribe can't find you if you're trying to act like somebody else. You're wondering why you're always shuffling around. Your friendships aren't good. Your relationships aren't good. It's because you're not with your tribe. You're not with your people. When you find your tribe, you'll know. You'll be able to breathe a sigh of relief. You'll be able to be yourself. The other thing is that there's no one way to a happy ending. Tonight, Coach Court is going to give us a lot of great information. We're going to have a fantastic conversation. But as always, I want to remind you to chew the meat and to spit out the bones. There will be things that work for you, and there will be things that don't sit right in your spirit. I want you to always keep that in mind as you go through life. And finally, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. You're going to make mistakes. And I know that you've made mistakes in the past. But the more that you realize that you're a human being, not necessarily a human doing, the more you can be a little bit more kind to yourself. And when you start to be kind to yourself, that love that you have for yourself begins to grow. Then you'll find it more possible to pour from a full cup and not an empty cup. I say all the time, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And then I remind myself, oh, yes, you can pour from an empty cup, but that leaves you broken, and that leaves you desolate, and that leaves you looking in all the wrong places for the love and the acknowledgement and the affirmation. That leaves you blaming someone else for your life or whatever's happening in your life because they're not there for you. You really could be there for yourself if you learned how to be kind, just a little bit more kind. It may not be easy. I'm not saying you're going to wake up tomorrow like, oh my God, I just love myself. Everything is so great. But a little bit every day. A little bit every day. All right. So we're getting ready to bring Coach Court on. Without further ado, please welcome Coach Courtney Gatlin. Coach Court. Oh, you're muted.
What's going on, man?
There we go.
Good to be here.
How are you?
Trying to work the YouTubes. I'm good, man. I'm really good, man. I'm blessed. I'm blessed, humbled. And it's just, dude, I've been given a great gift, man. When I was going through, almost homelessness and divorce, and I was like, man, there's no way I can keep moving. But then I learned about attachment styles, about my life in general. I've started reading this book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And man, let me tell you something. That book changed my life. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm blessed. Long story short, I am blessed.
I'm so grateful that you decided to say yes to coming onto the show. You guys, I was watching YouTube videos, like really searching YouTube for this adult attachment styles, adult attachment theory, and Coach Court popped up, and I've been watching his videos like mad. And then I found him on Instagram, and I was like, "Can you come onto the show?" And he was like, "Of course, bro. Like, I would love to do it." So thank you.
That's literally what I said too. Like, it's all good.
It's International Women's Day. So do you have any ladies that you like to shout out?
Yeah. So I like to shout out my fiance. I like to shout out my kids. I got 3 daughters, my mom, my sister, everybody that I work with, really in my following, man, because my following is like 80% women. And I was just thinking this earlier because I was listening to another coach and he had me scratching my head on some of his ideas. And I'm like, you are making the wrong crowd upset here. Because I say, if you have a tribe, like you said before, a tribe of supportive Black women and supportive women in general, they'll move mountains for you, man. But you make them mad, whew,
listen, you better watch out.
They will tear down your image.
Watch out.
For real, man. And because they are creators, man. They are the birthers of life. They are like the Eastern religions that I studied, the Taoism, like they refer to the divine being as a woman, because nobody can bring all this together and keep it together like women do. Like, let's just be honest. They're great narratives.
Absolutely. Yeah. So tell me, give us a definition for those that may not have heard about adult attachment theory or styles. What is it?
Okay, so attachment style theory was a notion that was created by a guy. I can't remember his name, if I'm being honest. It's been a while. But anyway, it was back in the 60s, a long time ago. It was a theory that however you were shown love as a child or lack thereof, that's how you're going to show up in your romantic relationships later on in life. And the experiences that you have, I don't have any notes. This is all off the top of the cuff. All right?
Hey, that's how we doing it on the Damon.
Yeah. So the age from ages 0 to 7, I want to say, how you interact with your parents it's going to be how you show up in your relationships. All right. So if you had somebody that was very supportive, very loving, most likely you're going to end up being a secure person growing up, and you're going to find others, you're going to be more attracted to more other secure type spouses. All right. So there's 4 type of attachment styles, and it's called attachment style theory. You have the anxious attachers, anxious preoccupied is what they're called, the dismissive avoidance, the fearful avoidance, and then the secure people. And the secure relationships are pretty rare these days because a lot of us have, childhood trauma. And most of the stuff that we try to bury and just say, I'll get over it when I get older, it doesn't work that way, because those unhealthy coping mechanisms and those unhealthy communication skills, it gets set in our subconscious. And our subconscious is responsible for at least 95% of the way we operate. And so we try to outwill our subconscious mind with our conscious mind. That's our awake mind. That's the mind with the 5 senses that we can see, taste, smell, touch. And it doesn't work that way, because that little 5% that we know about is being overridden by the 95% that makes us who we are. And part of the way that I like to if I want to set something new into my subconscious mind, I would like put it on in the background and go to sleep, because our subconscious mind never sleeps. It's always awake. And I'll just sit and I'll listen to things. And I can remember I was giving a lecture at this drug and alcohol rehabilitation center I was working at. And I was talking about some type of theory or something. And then the next thing you know, it just started to just come out of nowhere. I'm like, whoa. So I look back and I'm like, yeah, look up YouTube. I'm like, I did fall asleep to that. Like, no, that makes sense. Yeah. I was like, I fell asleep to that. I remember it now. But back to the attachment style. So secure people don't make up a lot of relationship these days, because somebody's going to always be a little bit more anxious. There's this push-pull dynamic. The most common relationship dynamic is the anxious attacher, the anxious preoccupied, and the dismissive avoidant. And the anxious attacher is just exactly what it sounds like. The person that's very anxious, the one that gets real clingy, real needy. Their biggest fear is fear of abandonment. All right, because growing up between the ages of 0 and 7, you read the book Attached. The example that they gave about the caveman is the exact same way. It's the exact same way. So whenever they start to feel their partner getting stressed out, or like they have some type of concern about the relationship, or if they feel them pulling away, not texting them as much, you start to pull them closer as the anxious preoccupied. You want to, because we have these things called activating strategies. And we'll activate to try to get closer to that person and pull them closer to us, because we fear that abandonment. That's because everything is all led by fear. If you think about part of the way that we operate in general, a lot of it is just fear-based. Like fear is either, if you can ask yourself, why am I not showing up the way that I should be? And I know I could be. Think about that one fear that's in front of you. All right. Is it because I'm fearing being vulnerable? Is it because I'm fear of being rejected? Am I fearing the abandonment? Am I fearing being criticized? What is it? What fear is leading the charge? And then you have to, be mindful of it, address it, and just tell it that it's serves no purpose. Faith and fear can't coexist. So that's the anxious preoccupied. And that's the one that they'll go psycho on you. Anxious preoccupied people. Like they'll go, they'll drive past your house at all types of night. If you say you're going to sleep, we're gonna make sure you're going to sleep. Go through your cell phone. Those are those type people. And I can tell you that a lot of the time that is self-sabotage, because things go so well and they fear that abandonment so much, they have to look for reasons to cause some type of turmoil. And it's really self-sabotage. So the dismissive avoidant, on the other hand, that's the one, is because it's a push-pull dynamic between the anxious and the dismissive. The dismissive avoidant is the one that when things get rough, rocky, they pull away. Those are the ones that are like, I don't need you. Don't need a person in my life. I didn't really want this relationship. They value their independence, and they value um, being able to have control of their life. So when things get rocky, they would rather push you away from them. They're the one that won't reach out they won't break no contact first because they feel like it's because I'm gonna tell you their biggest fear. So, the anxious preoccupied is fear of abandonment, but the dismissive, their biggest fear is fear of being vulnerable. They don't want to look weak. They don't want to be, which is, I feel like a lot of men have that. They don't want to cry. They don't want to talk about their feelings. It's because they don't want to be vulnerable. Because growing up as a young man, they say, don't cry, don't talk about your feelings. It makes you look weak. But one thing I learned about young men, being a youth mentor, I ran a successful youth mentoring program for 13, 14 years, was that it's all a lie. That's the one thing I try to drive home to them is behind, because, men, we either show anger or we show extreme excitement. And I let them know, like, that's a secondary emotion. There's always something that comes before that emotion. If you show up angry, what is it behind that? Did you get embarrassed in class? Are you disappointed because your mom didn't show up? Are you disappointed about this? Are you embarrassed? Like, what is it that's behind that anger? And people who are more love avoidance, they don't know how to talk about that. They don't know how to express that. And that's part of the things that I did. The thing that I did was be an advocate for them, And whenever they're feeling some type of emotion, I'll ask them, like, okay, what happened? And we'll try to kind of process it. Like, did something go wrong? Then they come to find out, like, oh, my brother was up all last night playing PS4, and he kept me up. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's what. So you got a little bit of anger there, right? So the dismissive avoidant, they struggle with communication, because when they were growing up, they didn't have that. They had to do a lot for themselves. They had to be very independent. They may have had to help mom pay bills and get a job early, take care of their siblings. So they feel like they all they got. And if somebody else come into their life and they try to, like, tell them how to do things or criticize, try to parent them, essentially, they're like, nope, I'm not. They're pretty rigid in the way that they operate. Let me know if I'm rambling here, if it all makes sense. If it all makes sense, because I can.
You know what? I meant to do some memes. Like, I chose some memes. I do this meme thing. So, like, the memes that I have, my favorite memes from the week. Cody, could you bring up? There we go. Okay. So I want to get your thoughts on these. So this one says, yo, I hate the stage when you first start talking to someone, because they could literally go MIA for hours and you can't even be like, so where the fuck were you? Just got to be like, so how was your day? I feel like this is classic anxious preoccupied.
That's classic anxious preoccupied. That is classic. Where here's the thing, you are in control of your own anxiety, and that's all it is. If you want to talk about the inner child, when something like that happens, think about that little boy inside you that's saying, where's mommy at? Like, she usually messages me back right away. Come here, see me, hear me, tell me that you're not abandoning me. And then they come back and it's like, yeah, I just got a little concerned. Like, no, you freaked out. This is level. I looked at my phone. It's 45 messages. Like,
blown up. Okay.
How you expect, right? And that's definitely that's that abandonment wound. That's that abandonment wound right there, man. It's coming to the forefront.
So how do you suggest that someone with abandonment issues or has that anxious preoccupied attachment style deal with that? Should they be straight up and be like, hey, I mean, they don't have to be like what about work, but should they be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I'm feeling.
It depends on the length of the relationship and how intense your relationship is. If it's the first week, which I've had, I've dealt with a lot of clients within the first 2 weeks, they're like stage 5 clinging on a person. And that's just a huge red flag. I don't think any of those topics should be brought up until 90 days, at least. At least.
You gonna hit us with the 90?
Yeah, 90 days.
Yo, okay, so
because it takes about, the mask comes off after 90 days. Within the first 2.5 months, everybody's 2 months, everybody's on their best behavior. And then people that show you who they are right away, and you should be like, thanks the stars right now. I don't have to deal with this for the rest of rest of my year, rest of quarantine. No, thank you. But I don't think you should be having that conversation until you're exclusive. All right. But after, which is 2 months at least, 2.5 months, you shouldn't even be talking about exclusivity because first off, my rule is you should be seeing each other once a week for the first 2 to 3 months.
Ooh.
Because if you do it to if you rush that honeymoon phase, the relationship is just gonna fall apart right away.
Come on and give us the good word now. You're giving us good stuff.
I'm just saying, it's if you rush it and you know too much about that person right away. Because think about like back in the day when they used to get together to go to the sock hop on a Friday night. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have telephone once a week. And those relationships lasted for a while because, you give them a varsity jacket that Friday night, I can't wait to see you next Friday. And it's just not the same anymore because we over communicate these days. And the more that you text people and the more that you talk to people, if you make yourself overly available, you're making yourself more vulnerable to screwing up. You're making yourself, I hope you can say that on YouTube. You're making yourself more vulnerable to just make a mistake, like say something. Because think about how you just like hold these conversations with people and the conversation kind of falls dead and you say something just because you're trying to keep the conversation going. You end up saying something wrong. Mm-hmm. And because they don't receive it right, mm-hmm. or they're saying that you said something a little bit rude, they're like, wait a minute. I didn't mean it like that. It's like, well, I should have ended this conversation 2 hours ago. I don't know why we sit here continuing and going on. Mm-hmm. And that's how it happens, man. And that's why you need to calm that anxiety. Because here's the thing. I heard this from a bunch of different sources. One of my favorite guys I listen to, Dr. Wayne Dyer, he says that, I think he might have took this from somewhere, but he said, it's the silence between the notes that makes the song beautiful. So if you're just making all this noise all the time, if you're making all this noise all the time, it turns into rock and roll. And I don't really like rock and roll. It's just screaming. So you have to give them that silence to let that attraction build for you, to make them wonder about you and know where they stand in your life.
All right.
So that's the anxious preoccupied. That's that quote. All right, that's that quote.
Wait. I'm the anxious preoccupied. For y'all that didn't know, I'm anxious preoccupied. Right. So give us something to help soothe ourselves, because when you are, you've been, what's the word I'm looking for? When you've been activated, your anxious preoccupied style has been activated through this. Oh my God, they're gone. They're not texting me. I texted them 2 times. They didn't text me back. Like that thing that starts going on our mind. What do we do in that moment? Do we meditate? Do we write a book? Do we call our mama? Like, give us some things that's
what I do. Help us. I personally, what I did was meditated. I'll listen to some nature sounds. I'll listen to more videos. I would bury myself because I was going through school when I was really active in my activated state. I was going through coaching school. I would put on one of those videos. I would make more content. I would get back in my purpose. Because here's the thing, when people get out of purpose, and Tony Robbins has this thing called the Wheel of Life, right? And he makes you draw a little pie chart and put each area of your life, like spirituality, friends, family, hobby, work, fitness, all those. So when you get stressed out as an anxious preoccupied, you put all that extra energy into your relationship to try to make it work. And then your health fall out of line. You're working out, the diet goes to crap. You don't see your friends and family. And you just got to realize that, all right, I need to scale back and put some of that energy in one of these other areas in my life. If I have to start praying more, if I have to start meditating more, that's what, so be it.
Start a podcast, if you're practice. And that the thing is that makes you more attractive, I think.
Well, it shows the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. It shows indifference. And the more that you show, like, I'm good with or without you, I'm just going to do my own thing. Like, I'm in purpose. I'm living my dream. And you're not the main dish. But the instant that I wrote a quote on Instagram, I don't know if you saw it. It said, the instant that you give off the I can't live without you vibe, that's when they'll start thinking about living without you. Nobody wants to be your sole source of happiness.
Okay, tell me this now, because eventually I want to get there. Eventually, that's because that's what I dream about, being in that relationship where it's like, oh, this is babe, like we're together. When does that come in? Like, how long do we have to sit back and be like, all right, it just is what it is? Is this after a year of dating? Is this after some long time? How do we like get there?
Practice. Because one thing I know about anxious, preoccupied people, we don't have a ton of relationship experience with different people because we latch on to that one person.
Come on,
And
Coach Court. Come on.
we try to force it. We try to make it into something that it's not. So we end up wasting a lot of precious time, which you never get back. You never get time back. It's the one unrenewable resource. We never get it back, but we try. And we go through so much abuse and lack of getting our needs met in order to try to make that relationship work. But if you were dating multiple people and you didn't put all your energy into that relationship, you'd be indifferent. Like, well, she not texting me back. Cool.
I'm gonna go live my life.
I'm gonna go live my life.
Mia says, why is it wrong to make a mistake in your opinion?
In your opinion. Oh, to make a mistake?
Yeah, when we were talking earlier, I don't remember exactly what that was. Mia,
Yeah.
can you clarify and get back to us? If you're just tuning in, we're talking about adult attachment styles theory with Coach Courtney Gatlin. We're having a very good time. Where it says, speak through those. Isn't he preaching good? Listen, we may need to put up your Cash App or something because the people may want to give an offering at the end.
What's up? Hey, I'm with it. Why not? For Monday.
Okay, let's go to that next meme in the meantime.
Okay.
I think it was a CD player.
Yeah, I saw that.
What are you listening to on this? Like, was this 1997, 96?
Me?
Yeah, what are you listening to on this?
Oh, man. 97, 96. I'm probably listening to what is shoot? Wait. Anything 3-6 Mafia or 66, 61. That's the album. Either Outkast. What's the song? Smoking on hey. Remember that?
Yeah.
Crucial Conflict. Yeah, Crucial
Yeah.
Conflict. Man, so that's crazy.
Listen,
yeah, I definitely had a couple of those.
Yeah, I grew up a church boy, so at this point, I was still only really allowed to listen to gospel music. So it would have been like Fred Hammond, the Clark sisters, maybe a
Kirk Franklin,
Kirk Franklin, 1NC. All right, let's go to that next meme. That's good listening though. Those was the days, okay?
Yeah, I say 3-6 Mafia, you say church music.
All right, so a year ago, this was our last normal week of life. Okay. So a year ago, we were like, we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. And the CDC was like, yeah, sure, we will. Yeah, this time last year, I was in Louisville, Kentucky, creating a new musical. My career was on the rise. I was going to my first like equity big contract in something other than opera. And then boom, COVID stole all my stuff. So what I want to ask you is, how has your life changed over this year? Did you expect us to be like down for 2 weeks or 3 months even, and then we were going to go back to normal?
Nah, I wasn't one of those people. I didn't join that tribe. I didn't subscribe to that. I knew like there's no way. Like you can't contain something like this within 2 weeks. And I'm somebody who homeschooled 2 daughters. Let me tell you that was no fun. I'm gonna go back to like what I was talking about before. Like I went from like homelessness almost to getting my car repo, all that type stuff. I went from that to being here. Quarantine really helped out my business. Dude, I've coached over a couple hundred, if not 250, I forgot the numbers, people throughout this whole quarantine deal. It just blew up. Man, it's good. Like I really tapped into my spirituality and just grew so much. Became more patient, more humble, and just more appreciative, grateful. And this is one thing, like when you come from like being married and having everything and just getting it all wiped out, dog, house, car, all that. You like, yeah, all of that. You're like, you're just so grateful to have anything, you know. So quarantine, um, I was already in the mental quarantine myself. I didn't hang out with people. All I did was study. All I did was like prepare myself for what God had for me, you know. That's it.
Come on, word. Come on, word. Can you give us a glimpse into what your attachment style was at the time that your marriage was kind of breaking apart and how that played a role in your relationship really dissolving?
Hmm. I got real anxious in the end there. And I was secure for a while. Because here's the thing about attachment styles, all right? There are two dominating styles. This is what I've learned. You can be a secure person, but when you're triggered, you turn anxious or you turn dismissive. And that's another thing, the fearful avoidant. We didn't even talk about that. The fearful avoidant is the one that has both dismissive and anxious. So they activate and deactivate. They're cold, they're hot and cold. They're the ones that you never know if they're going to cancel a date on you or not, if they're going to show up or not. Let me go back to the question though. I was secure in my relationship, and I felt like an alpha male.
Like
I was
secure.
secure,
No worries, no.
yeah. And then every now and then that anxious preoccupied to seep in there. I was with this lady for 16 years. So every now and then it'll seep in there and I'll be like, alpha male, what am I doing? And then, toward the end, it's like, man, way over the top, really anxious, not trusting, jealous. That fear of abandonment really sparked.
Now, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, was she starting to withdraw, which caused you to be anxious, or did you just start to be a little bit
I don't
anxious?
know.
Caused her to
That will of life. My other areas of life was going through turmoil, and I did exactly that. Put all my energy into my relationship, and I ain't like being there. Trust me, people that are anxious don't like being anxious, preoccupied. It's a comfortable place to be. You lose yourself, man. For real.
Lost. I mean, lost.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly I can become lost in the idea of a relationship or the idea of being with someone. So the fact that you gave us tools like meditation, riding a bike, like do anything to get your mind off of that situation so that you can live your life. Like you have to be first. You have to be, I mean, some people say you have to be whole. Okay, let's talk about this.
Yeah, I talked about that. Yeah.
There was a guy, I was listening to a podcast and he said, listen, if I waited until I was perfectly whole and everything was great and I was 100% in love with myself, I would never be in a relationship. He said, relationships are about growing. Relationships are about finding out about your style, finding out about your boundaries and stuff like that. Do you think that there's a perfect time to start dating? Do you like the idea of that? Like you're just dating and like figuring things out? Does it depend on what part of your life you're in?
I don't think anybody should be thinking about a serious relationship before the age of 25. All right. Because first off, the men, our brains don't even fully mature until we turn 25. Like the frontal lobe don't attach to the rear lobe until we're 25. I think for women, it's more like 22, 23, but we already know they're more mature than us. So I don't think anybody should be even considering a serious relationship before the age of 25. And here's why. Most of the people you see, like think about this in your own life. Most of the people that you see that started, dated their high school sweetheart, married, had kids, they're divorced by 30, 35, because you have these different seasons of life. And if you don't grow together, you grow apart. And I'm trying to think of your question. I'm trying to go back to your question.
Do you think it's like there's like a perfect time to start dating or like a perfect person, or can we just be dating and figuring things out? Do we have to be completely whole and like, oh yeah, I'm ready to date?
I think you should be. I think you should. And this is one analogy I like to give when I talk about being able to let go and being able to let go of that fear of abandonment. Like if you think of your life as a journey, think about all the people that came into your life and left your life. Like this is with friends, this is with coworkers, this is with relationships. Nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary. Like we're all on a journey by ourselves. And if somebody wants to join that journey, which is why I say I don't like the term, my better half or my 50-50. Like it takes a whole person to be with a whole person. And what that means is a whole person is a secure person. If you're thinking like you're on a highway and you're seeing all the sights by yourself, and then somebody enters the on ramp and you look at them and they say, hey, you want to take this journey with me? Cool, let's roll. And you're seeing this journey together. But the instant that that person say this, I'm no longer interested in this journey, I want to take the off ramp. If you try to stop them, you're going to cause a wreck.
I mean, a wreck. Okay.
You're going to be a wreck first off, and then you're going to cause a wreck. But if you're able to just gracefully let them go and, bid them adieu, hey, love you. It was great. Thank you for this journey. Appreciate all the memories and the sights that we saw together. But I know somebody else is going to come onto the own ramp, in a matter of time. Then you learn to find beauty in the endings, embrace the endings, But when we live in that scarcity mindset, like, oh, this is the only job I'll ever have or the only woman I'll ever love. And it's like, no, that's not true. It's just not true. Think about your best friend in middle school. Like, oh man, this is my homeboy. Well, we're going to be together forever. And you don't see him in high school. Like it's done.
But it was a beautiful journey, beautiful relationship.
Yeah. Why is it any different? Why is it any different relationships? Dr. Wayne Dyer said, we come into this world with no thing and we leave with no thing. In between is just an accumulation of things.
I do think that it was very weird for me when I first heard the idea that love is really about freedom.
Yeah.
That love really is about allowing that person to explore and to be themselves and not trying to pull them in and keep them in a cage.
I can't remember who that was. I think it might have been Thich Nhat Hanh or somebody.
Yes.
He said you must love in such a way that the person is free. Yeah.
Yes. I haven't mastered that part yet, but I'm practicing. Because I be on the freeway swerving like, oh, what? You said you what?
Yeah, and that's that's great.
I don't feel good. They don't feel good, and I'm single.
Yeah.
But if I can become a little bit better at recognizing when it's time to let go, and how much BS have I dealt with cheating and knowing that the thing just ain't right, but I'm trying to fit a square peg in a round hole because I felt like, oh, this is the only person that'll ever love me. This is the only opportunity I have. But how many only opportunities have I had? There have been at least 5 or 6 of them. Because I always think, oh, nobody's going to come. And then the next person comes. And I'm like, nobody's going to come. And then the next person comes.
Yeah. There's a coach that I studied said another bus comes by every 5 minutes. But we chase after that one bus. And you end up a wreck. Yeah. And that's, I said that that's probably one of my biggest videos that blew up on TikTok, actually. What did I say? One of the ways to detach from somebody is to get rid of your limiting beliefs. There are 7.8 billion people in this world, and we choose to attach to that one person, but for some reason, we think we'll never find another person. And then people, crack jokes like, well, I don't know 7.8 billion people. So all the people, but I learn, I take it in stride because I know that anything somebody says or does to me is just a reflection on how they feel inside themselves. If they have hate inside and bitterness, then when they open their mouth, bitterness and hate will come out. And it had nothing to do with me. I can't take it personal.
Okay, so tell me about this dismissive avoidant. Because they're acting dismissive, because they're being avoidant, does that mean that they're not in love? Does that mean that they don't like me? Does that mean that they don't want to date me? How do we find the balance between that? And how do we know when to stay and when to go?
You have to be vulnerable enough to make a fool out of yourself, but wise enough to know when to stop fooling around. That's the balance. That's the key ingredient. So you stick around, and this is what secure people do. Stick around till they know when to leave. And that's how long to stick around depends on the person. Everybody's different. Some people's pain tolerance is a little bit more than others, but it's not that they don't want relationships. It just feels foreign to them. It feels foreign to be vulnerable and to have people do stuff for them authentically. Because I've had people say to me, like, what's your angle here? Like, you must want something out of this. Like, are you trying to control me? Are you trying to get me to let my walls completely down? Because they are always hyper vigilant and on high alert about somebody trying to mess them over. So if that makes sense. They look for reasons because they have them deactivating strategies. Like, they look for reasons to deactivate. All right. And I've seen so many people break up with somebody and they have this long laundry list. Well, you didn't like scary movies and you didn't eat this type of food. And it's like, no, they're just making reasons because realistically, they don't have a real reason to why they didn't want to, continue the relationship. And most of the time, they still wanted to be with them. They just wanted to pull back and see where they really felt, because dismissals, they like to take things extremely slow. I like to call it the turtle in the shell analogy. When they start to feel a little too emotionally overwhelmed and like people are getting too close, they'll pop their head back in the shell, and you have to wait for them to come out in order to have a conversation with them. In the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, they call that men go into their caves and women go into their wells. When they need to figure things out, dismissals, they kind of just pull away. Like, if they feel, first off, they'll start acting weird. Like, they'll start acting distant. They'll stop texting as much. And
that activates the crap out of me.
Yeah,
That's preoccupied.
That's a conscious. Yeah. And it's the thing, like, people ask me, they say, okay, so if an anxious got into a relationship with an anxious, what will happen? One person will become more dismissive and they'll get turned off by the other person because it gets overwhelming. And it's always going to be that dynamic unless one person, takes the step to be more secure and to heal their style themselves. Then they'll both be going through off and on, break up, get back together, break up, get back together type cycle. The way to deal with dismissive avoidance is when they start to deactivate, give them time and give them the space. Don't take any more steps forward, because if you do, it's just going to spook them. And it's like if the turtle goes back into the shell, if you're the rabbit hopping around the shell, you coming out, and you pop your head in the shell, are you coming out? They're gonna be like, yeah, this isn't working out. Blocked.
Blocked. The T on the end.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I dated a dismissive in 2017. And at first it was great. We had a fantastic time. But the more we got a little bit closer, the more he started to inch away. And it was Good Friday, 2017. And I reached out, because he had recently said, like, I want to be exclusive. Like, we had hit that like 2.5-3 month mark. And I was like, okay, great. So then I expected, this is why communication is so important. I expected us to be having FaceTimes every morning, to be talking every day. His grandmother was sick. She was dying, and he would not open up to me. And I was like, I'm your boyfriend. Like, we just started being boyfriends, but we've known each other for like 3 months. I don't understand what's going on. And he gave me an out. He said, listen, I'm not in a place right now where I can be communicative like this. And so I need you to let me know if this is not working for you. And because I was so afraid of abandonment, and I thought this is the only person that's ever going to love me, this is the only way we're going to be together, I was like, no. And I retracted. But really, inside, I should have just said, you know what? This is not working for me. Maybe we could try later. So the more that I latched on, the more that he ran away, and the more that I latched on. And then he ended up breaking up with me. And I felt terrible. And what did I do? I lost myself.
Protested. Yeah, you protested.
I was not eating. I was not seeing my friends. I had to start taking medication, like for depression and anxiety. It was
on those. Not a fan. Been on those. Not a fan.
So in that situation, if there is an anxious avoidant out there and they really like this person, and it seems like that person likes them, but they're starting to pull away.
Anxious preoccupied.
So as an anxious preoccupied, we should let these dismissives just pull away for a minute.
Yeah. Give them the space and give them the time to process what they're going through, because we process things a lot quicker than they do. They need the time to figure it out. um, and to kind of talk themselves off the ledge, you know. But if you're there on the ledge and you're just gonna kick them, the more you talk to them, you're just gonna kick them right off the edge. You gotta let them de-escalate themselves, figure out this is what they really want. And like you said, what were you saying? Sorry. Something you said in the beginning of the whole thing that you were okay, so they process stress differently than we do too. Dismissals, they process things way different because they can't compartmentalize that stress. If they're stressed at work, somebody passed away, it's all across the board. They're going to pull away from everybody.
And I automatically assume, as an anxious, preoccupied, that means you don't love me. Any sign of pulling away from you don't love me. We've never been in love. You lied. It really gets bad.
Here it is, and here's what you need to hear. As an anxious preoccupied, we have high expectations on people because of the way that we show up. Like, our love languages is physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation. Like, we can make that happen, and we expect it to happen for other people the same way. But dismissives, they don't value that as much. They don't value physical touch. They don't value words of affirmation because in their history, they're not used to getting words of affirmation. Somebody that was supportive. Now, this is just general, as a general rule. It's not for every person. But in the past, it's uncomfortable getting words of affirmation because they never really had it. But once you realize, because you had something, you raised a red flag in my mind when you said we became boyfriend, and all of a sudden you had these expectations.
Like, come on, this is boyfriend.
Expectations are premeditated resentments.
Oh, snap. I almost had a heart attack when you said that. Can you say that again for the people in the back?
Expectations are premeditated resentment. So when you put expectations on somebody, they automatically disqualify themselves because they won't be able to live up to an anxious preoccupied standards. This is why the dismissive avoidance, they always feel inadequate in relationships. And they're thinking like, well, I'm just waiting on the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting on this person to break up with me because I'm not showing up the way that I'm supposed to. Or the way that Hollywood says we should, or the way that Joe up the street is with his boyfriend or girlfriend, So, yeah, you're basically just validating what they already know. Like, it's just like he said, like, I don't think I can show up the way that you need me to show up. And a good response for you would have been, you know what? That may be true, but I'm here. I'll support you. I'll fall back. I'll give you your time and your space to process this. And that's, if you can date a dismissive the correct way as an anxious, you can actually heal yourself. Because they're going to, if you don't give them the time and the space that they need, they're just going to take it. And then you'll have a choice, So if you do it the right way and by being mindful and getting yourself back in your mission and your purpose in life and meditating and doing your hobbies, take that silence from them as a timeout and know that the silence that you're giving them is probably making them grow closer to you. Because in the past, they probably had a lot of psycho people that didn't want to listen. And if you show up differently and say, you know what, take your time and then pull back, they'll be like, oh, wow, I value this person so much more because he actually listened and he gets it. And I'm not a flawed person by wanting this. And I don't feel inadequate in the relationship because somebody gets me. Somebody understands it.
Mia says, what do you think a person / couple should replace expectations with? That's a very good question, Mia. Very, very good question. What do we replace those expectations with?
Sorry, I was reading here. My bad.
So what do you think a person / couple should replace expectations with? So say in my situation, I was like, you're boyfriend, so you're supposed to call me every day. You're supposed to do this and that and the other. What could I have put in place of that for myself so that I could have calmed down maybe a little bit?
Well, just have a different type of conversation where it's not like emotionally charged and you feel like you have to lay down the law. Because there are different standards. You have standards in a relationship. You have boundaries and stuff, but boundaries and standards, I don't think it's the same thing as expectations. because a lot of our unspoken expectations we project on the people, and they don't have a clue, you know.
Don't have a single clue. Like they're supposed to read our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Woo,
So
Jesus.
what you can do is say, look, this is what I need to be valued in a relationship. For me, not hearing from you, you pulling away from me is like suffocation. Like I need that like air, you know. So what I need for you to do is, if you're going to pull away, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you don't know where you want to be, just let me know, and I'll respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, communicate that with me, because the silence is doing more damage than actually communicating that.
Absolutely. Ashley says, it feels like the term dismissive avoidance has been labeled as narcissistic behavior. Is there a difference? Is there a difference between a dismissive avoidant and a narcissist?
There's a huge difference between a narcissist and a dismissive. Narcissistic people are part of the cluster B personality people. Those are your sociopaths, your uh, antisocial personality disorder, uh, bipolar. Um, Narcissists, they lack empathy, and that's the biggest difference between them and a dismissive. Dismissive people can be some of the most caring, compassionate, empathetic. They're really strong uh, as far as family units. They value that so much, because those are the people that show the most support. And one of the best things that you can do for a dismissive to show that you care about them is show them support. And if they had support from family, they'll be family people for forever. But a narcissist, first off, there's a very small percentage of people who are bona fide narcissists. You know, we all have narcissistic tendencies in us. You actually need some of the narcissistic tendencies to compete in the workforce, because you need that ego, you need that swagger to get ahead of everybody else. But for a person that's bona fide narcissist, he lacks empathy. He's always trying to manipulate people. I can see why the dismissals are, because this is all over my YouTube all day long. They consider them narcissistic people is because usually the person that's commenting, they're hurting and they're scarred, and they want to make sense of it, and they want to put a label on something. If you can, you know, hey, that person looks like the devil, I think he is. But if you're with that person and they were able to be open with you and vulnerable, and they weren't like selfish and they were empathetic, it's just, you got to think of them more like emotionally immature. Like they just lack that ability to put into words how they're feeling.
Mm.
But for a narcissist, they just don't have feelings. It's like,
Mm.
eh,
That's
eh.
very good. Very good. Very good. If you're just tuning in, I am sitting here with Coach Courtney Gatlin. We're having a fantastic conversation about adult attachment styles theory. For those that may have tuned in a little bit late, can you just run down very quickly for us what these different attachment styles are? We need to know what's happening.
All right. So if you're just tuning in, there's four type of attachment styles. There's secure people. They're dying by the day, because there's not a lot of secure people who came from a secure household, balanced household, had both parents in the picture, taught them how to communicate, supported them in all their sports and their hobbies and stuff. And then you have the anxious preoccupied. Now, those are the people who grew up in a household where the love was inconsistent from one or both parents. Like if you had a parent that was there one minute and then gone the next, or they didn't have any love at all, like the people who had to cry in the crib, and the parents said, we're just going to let them cry themselves to sleep. Those are more like your anxious preoccupied. And then you have the dismissive avoidance. Those are the people who they don't need relationships, right? They can have a bunch of different hookups and flings, but as far as like a full-on relationship that lasts longer than 6 months, probably not going to happen for them, because they find reasons to pull away from a person. Whenever they start to feel their most vulnerable, they can just talk about, I've had it before where a dismissive avoidant person was apartment shopping with his girlfriend. And as the person was showing him, he kind of walked out and then just disappeared and drove home. And she's like, what's going on? I don't think I can live with you. It's like, what? We've been together for 3 years and you left me here with the real estate agent? It's like, whoa, yeah. Pulled away. Luckily, she was secure and she just wanted answers. Like, why did this happen? So I guess, yeah, she gave me his background. I guess he sounds like he might be a dismissive, and that's probably the reason why.
Very good for her because I
Yeah, no, it would have been a wrap. It would have been a wrap. And then
Reynolds. Reynolds would
last
have.
but not least, the fearful avoidant. I took a lot of scrutiny about this because I said, I think the fearful avoidant is probably the most unhealthy style because they're really hot and cold. And if you ask me, they're the one that look more like narcissistic people because they'll love bomb and then they'll pull away and then they come back and then they'll pull and they'll monkey branch and then because they don't know where they really want to be. And a lot of it has,
Breadcrumbs. No.
yeah, breadcrumb and all those ghosting, a lot of it got to do with their amount of trauma. They had some significant amount of trauma in childhood, most likely, or in the past. They may have came from a relationship with somebody that was a narcissist and really messed them up mentally. And a lot of they're in their head a lot. They live in the future. I was talking to a client earlier. I said, it's crazy because the dismissive avoidance, I feel they lead with their brain. The anxious preoccupied lead with their heart. And the fearful, they lead with their gut, and they always, their gut's always in a knot. It's always like, oh, this doesn't feel right. I think we should break up.
Oof.
Are we hanging out tomorrow? Like, wait a minute, what?
Right. Tell me this. In your experience as a coach, I was doing a little bit of research and I heard that for some reason there's like this magnetism almost between dismissive avoidance and anxious preoccupied. Like they find themselves always doing this dance and like being together. Have you experienced that? Have you found that? And if so, why?
Why is because our subconscious mind, we talk about that again. Our subconscious mind is going to always pick what's familiar to us. So if we say, if mom was getting abused by dad, we'll say, oh, I'll never meet somebody like that. I'll never date somebody like your dad. But subconsciously, you're getting that program to what's normal. And you'll start to go out and attract more because there's this thing called a law of attraction. You're going to attract the people who your subconscious mind really wants. And this is what Earl Nightingale says. You know, your subconscious mind will attract what you really what you feel you deserve, or what you fear the most. Whatever you think about the most. So if you think about people doing you wrong, you're going to attract more people that's going to do you wrong and live up to that narrative. If you think about the game, very simple thing you can do in like your everyday life. Think about when you went car shopping for your car you got. You picked the car like, oh man, this is unique. Like you start to think about that one car and then you're driving around and you're like, I've never seen this car. But then the more you think about it, you're like, wait a minute. Everybody's got this color. Like what? And if you think about like we play this game called Punch Buggy, whenever I'm driving, I couldn't play the game. I couldn't participate because I wasn't thinking about that. But the kids that I was playing with, they're punching me in the shoulder left and right. I'm like, I can't focus on that. Like I'm watching the road. But the more that I focused in on the more that I focused in on that, the more it started to, I saw it more. You know what I mean? You attract what you think about the most, or you focus on the most. And your subconscious mind is always attracting these things to you. You ever had a person that was like always complaining, always had some type of misfortune going on in their life? It's like, bro, you got some bad luck or something. It's like, no, because that is the type of vibrations that they're putting off and they're pulling those people in. So the 4 type of styles is anxious, preoccupied, dismissive, avoidant, fearful, avoidant, and secure.
Okay, so we have these different attachment styles. It seems like, the secure people are cool because they're secure, even though, they may sway in the wind every once in a while because we're human, right? We have these emotions. Let's start with anxious, preoccupied. Well, we already talked about anxious, preoccupied. Let's talk about this dismissive. How can they start moving toward a more secure attachment style?
Yeah, so how dismissive people can start becoming more secure is to just be still. Just be present. Give people a chance, because here's the thing, like, because the dismissive avoidant had to do everything for themselves, most of the things for themselves, had to grow up earlier, had to be independent. They live here, all right? So anybody that comes into their life is automatically here. They have a high view of themselves, and other people's like, I'll give you a chance. But in the first 3 months, that romantic, that limerence phase, that honeymoon phase, they see you as here, like, oh man, I met my equal. And the more that you do wrong, you're gonna start going down here a little bit. And as the anxious preoccupied, you're gonna have them on a pedestal, and they're gonna see you, beneath them, you know. So you're gonna be trying to fight to get back up to that level. But once they, and this is why they compare them to narcissists, because that's what narcissists do. They love bomb you, then they devalue you, and then they discard you. And that's why people think that the dismissive are like that. But it's more like they just don't trust you. Like they don't, they got too close to the fire, and they're like, I don't want to get burned. But if you can say, hey, I'm trustworthy, I'm here, I see you, and I'm not trying to change you. I'm not criticizing you. You know, you can be your own individual. Which is, I tell people, the quickest way you can make a relationship fall apart with a dismissive is take their space, move in with them, and watch how fast their relationship fall apart. But if you're the dismissive, know to communicate better. Like if you start to feel a person's coming on a little bit too strong and they're pushing you away, communicate that. Say, hey, I just need some time. Like I just need some space. I feel like we're moving a little bit too fast. And if you're able to do that, they're probably not going to want to hear it. But at least you gave them the best chance they had, which is
at being which
which is communicating that.
Because that's real.
Yeah.
It's so hard for us to be, it's so hard for me, and it has been in the past, to just be honest, because I'm trying to either hold on to something or stave something else off. But I'm learning that it's not possible for me to foster those relationships. It's not possible for me to have the relationship that I really want in the long term without revealing who I actually am. And the thing for you anxious, preoccupied people out there that I'm learning is that as I reveal who I actually am, it gives that person a chance to say that they can be in this or they can't. At the same time, though, I'm learning not to villainize people and to victimize myself. So instead of me saying, you did this to me, you broke my heart, especially all those expectations that I never said, I never communicated, I can now say, you know what? I'm feeling a bit anxious. I feel like I've been triggered and this just doesn't work for me. So we can talk about it instead of me being like, I'm a victim and you're the person that's doing this to me. And I think that gives a relationship a better chance of like maybe surviving.
You know what they say, communication, man. And it's all about communication. We speak different, that's where the love languages come in too. Like, it's not just about love language. It's about just language in general, like being able to communicate in a healthy fashion.
Thanks for tuning in, Keen.
The reason we don't, though, is because as an anxious preoccupied, we feel like if we tell them no, or if we don't bend over backwards for them and bury our own needs, they're going to want to leave us and we're not worthy. And they're going to see that as a flaw. But we should be able to say no and lay out firm boundaries. Like, no, I won't be talked to this way. No, I won't allow that in a relationship. But we feel like, what's up?
That was the voice of God.
Oh, okay. But it's we got to be able to do that, and because they sure know how. Like dismissive people, they'll know everything. Like, nope, here, try this food. Nope. Hey, let's put this there. No, please don't move that. Like.
And I'll be getting angry.
Right, there's like, no flex with you. There's no flex.
Dare you say no when I feel like I can't say no because I'm afraid that the moment I say no or this doesn't work for me, that you're out the door.
Yeah, if somebody's going to leave you for setting strong boundaries for yourself, then they didn't deserve you in the first place.
So true. So true. So the best thing that we can do as an anxious avoidant is to give time.
Anxious and preoccupied.
Anxious, preoccupied is to give time, space. The best thing we can do as a dismissive is to give a moment.
Communicate. Pause and don't flee right away, because usually it's some type of trauma trigger you step on, like something that happened, because they have this dismissive. They suffer the most from Phantom X phenomenon, which is they'll compare their current spouses to their previous spouses a lot. And they'll look for those little nuances that they didn't like in their ex. And the instant that you start to show a little bit of that, they're like, yep, got them. Put that one on the list. On the list, like, you do that too, huh?
Yeah.
Right. You coming off, yeah. And they won't communicate that to you. And that's the thing about them. They can hold that in. Like, ain't just preoccupied. We see something, we're like, oh yeah, no, we gonna argue about this. But the dismissal, they like, all right. Until they're ready to break up with you. Then they're like, blah, 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 blah. Like, whoa, how long have you been holding that in? Like, that's, you do know that when you hold this stuff in, you know what it's saying? Never let the sun set on your anger. So when you hold this in, you hold that little crystal of upsetness and unease, it solidifies into resentment. And then it's hard to chip that resentment away because you've already formed this narrative in your mind. So, not cool.
This has been amazing. Okay, so tell me this one last question. If you guys have like burning questions, please put them in the comments and let us know. But I want to know, is there any circumstance whereby it's good to get back with an ex or go back to an ex?
Man. Yeah. I wrote a quote like 2 years ago. If without growth, your ex should never be your next. Yeah. So, and you would know if a person grew or not. You would know if you started back dating them again, the little nuances that you didn't like before, if you start to see those things again, and you start to, honestly, I've helped so many people get their ex back. When they got them back, they realized that they outgrew them. They realized that they didn't want them anymore. They're like, bro, you still smoking weed, you still hanging out. I don't know if this is something I even want to revisit again.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the circumstances, if they've grown, if it's been a good amount of time, because what happens is they'll break up and they'll start to beg for that person back. I've changed so much. And they're thinking like, it's only been 3 weeks. Like, what could you have possibly done within this 3-week mark to grow so much? Like, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
Yo, listen, I'll also say personally, when me and this guy broke up in 2017, like 2 months, like he was the only thing that I could think about. I didn't want to hook up with anybody else. I didn't want to do anything that would possibly damage our relationship in the future. Meanwhile, he was, out here anyway. I mean, out here because
he was dismissing, huh? He was dismissing.
With a capital D. I'm not going to tell you how I found out that he was out here because I'm really embarrassed about that. But just know when you're an anxious, preoccupied, there are
you got your ways.
But I almost destroyed myself. Yeah. I literally almost destroyed myself because 2 months after, there was no change. I was just trying to get back what I had. And looking back on it, this is why like looking back on things is really good. The relationship wasn't as good as I thought it was. No. But the understanding that I have now and the love that I have for myself now and the ability that I have for myself now to ask for what I want, bro, no way that I would ever do that.
You want to know why though? You want to know why we do that?
Why?
We see those yellow flags. I'm like, that's interesting. You see a red flag, like, oh yeah, but you know what? He's just having a bad day or something. I know he loves me, so there's no way I can change him. I can make him, my love can change who that person is. It's like, no, that's just who they are.
That's never the case.
I think it's Oprah Winfrey when it said, what, changing them?
Yeah, like our love, we just love them so much that we can make them change.
No, codependency.
Woo!
That's all it is.
Okay, got it.
You ever heard the frog in the pot analogy? Yeah.
Tell the people.
That one. Huh?
What is the frog in the pot analogy for?
I'll share that with people. So if you take this is real life, all right. So if you take a frog and you throw it into a pot of boiling water, it'll jump out right away. But if you take a frog and put it into a pot of water and you turn the heat up slowly, it'll eventually burn itself to death because it doesn't realize that the temperature and the conditions that it's sitting in, the toxicness is killing them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it is when you get into relationships and you ignore certain things, and then they turn the heat up a little bit. Turn the heat up. Well, what if I cheat on him? Oh, he took me back. All right, well, I might as well cheat again.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Boiled to death.
Boiled to death.
Ashley says, so should we steer clear? Should we still steer clear of dismissive avoidant? Like, if someone's dismissive avoidant, should we just be like, oh no,
No, it all depends on your level of where you're at. If honestly, because I tell you, I work with people going through divorce, like people getting out there in the world again. Like if somebody's like going through a divorce and they meet somebody that's a dismissive, like that's like the perfect relationship for them. It's like the perfect starter. Like I don't have to give too much of my time. We know what this is. We can ease into it, and it's the relationship goes at a pace that's comfortable for both of you. But if you are somebody that like you're waiting for a meal, like you're here right now, instant pot, then I wouldn't say a dismissive, because they have some growing to do and they got some, and who knows, like they have to get to that point in their journey on their own, because they don't like when people try to tell them what to do or suggest something to them, like criticize them. They want to find that stuff on their own, discover it on their own. I don't say you should steer clear of them because they're really sweet people, to be honest. And a lot of people stay in relationships with them because they see that sweet spot and they have that moment where they feel like, wow, this person. It's like when you go to the golf course and you hit that one ball right, you're like, woo, and then you waste a whole lot more money. You tear up the line. You never get that shot again. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that with them. They'll show you that most vulnerable time. They'll tell you about their childhood, tell you about why they are the way they are. And you'll be like, wow, I don't think I ever want to leave this person. Mm-hmm. But then they pull back and take all of that away from you. I like to call it, they have vulnerability overdoses. Like you can just have a really good weekend with them. Then you won't hear from them for 2 days. You're like, what the heck? Why are you ignore my messages? And they're like, I just had to think.
And I'm always
thinking, they'll just dismiss it. They'll say, what are you talking about? Like, that's the way they operate. Yeah, that's the way they operate. Yeah, because they think it goes both ways. We think that, since we just had this time together, we should be talking all the time. And for them, they're like, well, since we just had this time together, I don't think we need to talk for the next couple of days because I'm doing me and I'm getting back into my purpose. Because they will bury themselves in escapism and play video games or bury themselves into work. They are workaholics, dismissive people. Tell me, they're the ones that are like independent. They're bosses, they're CEOs. This is why you see a lot of those CEOs divorced like 4 or 5 times, and their wives complain about not having enough quality time and them never being available. It's like they know what marriages should be for them, but they just, do they want to do the work? It's the question.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'm learning in my research about adult attachment style theory is that just because we have these different styles doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us. Like an anxious preoccupied like me. We can be really in the right situation, and when we've taken the time to really get to know someone, when we've taken the time to really develop this relationship, we can be the most supportive, sweet, loving people. So you may need to get you an anxious preoccupied, or like you were saying, there's some good things about the dismissive. There are some good things, but it has to happen in this way that there's communication. Yeah. Like what are the keys to success, let's say, for people when they're trying to get to that good spot with the different attachment styles?
So if you're anxious, dude, you have to check your motives behind why you're doing stuff, because we see it more like we're putting in credits. One day they're going to snap. One day they're going to give us all the love that I'm giving them. And then you ask for it, like, you don't ever do this for me. You don't ever do that. And they were like, I never asked you to do it in the first place. And it's like, well, so your motives weren't pure. Like, you're doing this to get something in return. And you should be just giving it because that's just who you are. And you don't expect anything from them in return.
Courtney,
But
you preaching tonight, okay, brother? I let you know you're really preaching. Go ahead, please.
this is what I do on a day-to-day basis, man. So I appreciate it though. Keys to so reciting your question again. Keys to
What are the
success.
keys to success for finding those good parts of the different attachment styles? So for if you want to get to the so like for the anxious, preoccupied, they could be a really great partner. But you have to find that sweet spot. You have to find the spot where they feel secure enough in the relationship to calm the F down.
Yeah. And that sweet spot is letting them know that when you do this, you're pushing me further away.
Woo! Let me know.
When you get jealous and you get insecure, it makes me, first off, it's insulting me, my character, and it makes me feel, hurt that you would even insinuate something like that. So anytime that you do that, it's going to push me further away because I feel like you don't trust me. And I haven't done anything to violate, because I know this has something to do with your history, and I'm not your history. Like, so stop trying to put me in that bubble.
I'm not your history, boo. I'm not the guy that effed you over. I'm not the guy that was cheating every night. I'm not that guy. So don't put me in that category. You're gonna drive me away.
But unfortunately, like Thich Nhat Hanh says, we don't suffer from past or present because they don't exist. What we suffer from is our memories and our imagination. So when we're thinking about all those memories of what your ex did, when you bring that here to the present moment, your current relationship is going to suffer. Or if you're fearful about what's about to happen next, the relationship is going to suffer.
That's good. That's good. So that's the anxious, preoccupied, but now the dismissive, avoiding. What can the anxious, preoccupied be doing to create that space to get to that good part?
Yeah, to become more secure. Yeah. Honestly, a lot of this needs to be done with some type of counseling or therapy, or a coach or something, because I don't think you can't just will yourself out of this. It took you a long time. It takes people a long time to have this cell really secure in place in their main operating system, their iOS. So they have to get that uninstalled some way, shape, or form. That's life coaching, relationship coaching, counseling, or therapy. Mm-hmm. I heard that EMDR. I've heard some really good things about that too. EMDR therapy.
I had an EMDR therapist on last week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And they can also see you.
Yeah.
Where do they need to find you? How can we connect with you?
Oh yeah. So if it's not on there, my YouTube is Coach Court, and it's the
bomb, y'all. Go find, if you suffering, go get you some Coach Court on.
Yeah, that's somebody just commented that like my voice is calming and soothing. I'm like, man, I'm super humbled. Like when I was going through it, I really wished I had somebody to talk to for free and listen to for free, because there's a lot of different contradicting information out there, and some people just want to tell you what you want to hear, and it's
the money.
It's led a lot of people, and get your money too. It's led a lot of people into, and that's the crazy thing about it is once I entered this realm of YouTube, like I started to see different things. Like I give coaching away for free. It's like every day, like I'm answering emails, helping people out in their darkest moments, especially during quarantine. People didn't have money and finances to hire a relationship coach. So I just responded to their emails for free. But it's crazy how many people use people suffering to monetize. Mm. And it's kind of sad if you ask me. Mm. Well, my YouTube is Coach Court. My Instagram is I am Coach Court, and TikTok is I.am.coachcourt. And what else? I got a Facebook account. Yeah, I am Coach Court on Facebook too. And Twitter, Coach Court too. I guess I do have more handles than I thought I did.
Y'all, please, if you've been blessed by what Coach Court has had to say tonight, if you want to engage with him further, please reach out to him on social media. This is why the Damon Speaks Show exists. It's for you to get, and this is the healing space. Yeah, March is the healing space. I know, man, you've helped me a lot tonight. Can you give us some book recommend? Okay, go ahead.
I can't forget my website, which is Fruitful Seeds. Yeah, www.fruitfulseeds with the Z at the end.com. Book recommendations. For women, I like to recommend anything Brene Brown, Rising Strong, Daring Greatly. She's got some good stuff. For men, if No More Mr. Nice Guy. That's a good book. It's by Donald Glover, I believe. And then I can't give it all away for free. That's coaching sessions exclusives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Those are the couple that I like to recommend to people. Um, yeah, I appreciate this, bro. This was
Man.
the vibe was there, man. I appreciate it, big time, big time. I've been on a lot of different podcasts. This was definitely live and very well done. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man. Do you have any final words for the people? Maybe for someone that's really struggling right now, that's like, this is never going to work out for me. I'll never be in a relationship. I can't seem to get it right.
Woo. Bunch of different quotes just came to mind. I guess keep it simple. This too shall pass. Like wherever you're at right now, your best thinking got you there. And what you continue to think, that's where you'll remain. So push past those thoughts. Namaste, everybody. I love y'all. God bless.
Namaste. God bless. Y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your love and your support. If you want to support the Damon Speaks Show, Cody's going to put something down in the bottom. You can always hit me up on Zelle or Cash App. But if you just want to reach out into my inbox and say, you know what, thank you. You've really blessed me. I appreciate your show. I'll take that too. Wherever you're finding this show, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, like the video, and most of all, please share this with someone that may need to hear some of this tonight, because I know that there are a lot of people that are out there that are hurting. Next week, we've got Coach Maximilian Webster coming on. He's in Psychic Up Level Coach, and we're going to talk about cosmic healing. The week after that, we have Sharon Eskandani coming up. She has Wholehearted Coaching. We're going to be talking about how to heal the heart. And in the final week, I'm so excited. Antoinette Motley is coming on the show. She is an early childhood educator, and we're going to talk about lifelong healing. Catch the Damon Speaks Show every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/Bernard Damon Holcomb. Before I let you go, please give it up for my boy Cody. He is executive producing. He's doing all the tech stuff. I don't have to keep nothing on my mind. All I have to do is engage with the guests, and we all good. Thank you, Cody. We love you, man. All right, let's roll the credits. See you next week.